Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking about episode 5 of season 8 of Dexter called This Little Piggy. Uh, Overall, I thought this was an alright episode. Honestly, the plot is a little bit on the thin side this episode around. But what's really strong in this episode is the theme that they explore from multiple angles. And that theme is the way that family is a double-edged sword. Our families in our lives can be a source of, like in the case of AJ Yates, they can be a source of torment. And what we get with what ultimately happens between Dexter and Deborah and Vogel is that they can be a source of support. And what we see with Masuka and his daughter is that they can be a source of conflict. Well, actually, maybe Deb and Dexter are a better example of that. But with Masuka and his daughter, it is that just because somebody's family doesn't mean, of course, that they can be trusted. And if you've paid attention to family politics, you've seen that money, particularly, can cause people who are, of course, related to feud pretty darn bitterly. I have seen that happen firsthand. It really is truly amazing how callous people who are family can be to each other when the almighty dollar is involved. It is truly extraordinary. Now, of course, Masuka doesn't know that if Nikki is really, after his money, or if she's just slightly inconsiderate, and he's being needlessly worried. But still, his concern is not an unreasonable one. I mean, Quinn was perfectly right to point out, like, hey man, don't look at this as if it's some sort of present from down on high. This could still be something. There could still be some bad in this situation. Now, we don't really get a resolution to that, but it does advance the plot along. And like I said, it does give us, well, basically it kind of gives Masuka something genuinely interesting to do for the first time in quite a long while, really. But anyway, as I said, the main thing here is the way that family can be a double-edged sword. And where we start off with the dynamic between Dexter and Deborah, it's about as bad as family gets. I mean, it really is hard to get worse than having your sibling try to murder you. But I like how Dr. Vogel points out that both, Dexter does have a right to be pretty darn upset here, but that it's not really that Deb tried to kill him that's really upset. Dexter is really more feeling betrayed. That he is, Deb being out of his life forever seems even more real than before now. And as she said, this is Deb hitting rock bottom. That was all the big question of what was going on last time around was, when is Deb going to hit rock bottom? Well, here it is. And it's really interesting to see the reaction that Deb has to all of this. It's just, she's like, yes, I am genuinely sorry. And just the look at Deb in this episode and how she was last time around, it really is, in terms of her personality, a pretty extreme transformation. Here we see some shades of the old Deb that we knew, rather than this, self-destructive, self-loathing person who's been running around for the last several episodes. Now, granted, Deb's still dealing with some pretty serious PTSD, but in trying to kill Dexter, oddly enough, she's turned a corner. She's, as Dr. Vogel said, she's hit rock bottom. And it's like, what is it, the old saying or the old song, maybe, was it from Garth Brooks? When you hit rock bottom, you're standing on solid ground. I'm not really a country music person, so don't quote me on that being Garth Brooks. But anyway, also, you would think that Dexter might be just a little bit more sympathetic to Deb's situation, given how often homicide has been a therapeutic release for him. But that does kind of show that maybe there is something to what Dr. Vogel has been saying, that isn't that Dexter is still continuing to review the whole situation with Deb in terms of what it means to him. If that's true, then the way Dexter is acting in this episode, it still makes sense, but it's certainly another a rather very interesting and rather unflattering way of looking at Dexter, if you want to go there, and his actions in this episode. But anyway, one thing that I do have to say that I like about is Dr. Vogel in this episode. For the most part of it, she's just kind of been on the sidelines of things. Now, granted, she's been heavily involved in what's going on. I mean, she helped make the code of Harry. She's, like I said, an extraordinarily involved character. But this is the first time that Dr. Vogel's really been in the thick of the action. And this is not an action person. This is basically an old lady, and she has every reason in the world to be scared out of her mind when Yates kidnaps her. But Dr. Vogel is strong in one aspect, in that she's very, very smart. I mean, she didn't earn that nickname, the Psychopath Whisperer, for just screwing around. She knows what she's doing, and she is able to use that against Yates. I mean, she is able to push his buttons just right once she has, enough time to really calm down and deal with the situation. And that's what keeps her alive long enough, of course, for Dexter and Deborah to rescue her. Of course, one also has to stop and realize that if Dr. Vogel, when she got a hold of the phone, had just called 911, then the police probably would have been there well before Dexter and Deborah. It's standard operating procedure for a 911 call. If it comes in and there's nobody on the line or something like that, then to send the police there to find out what's going on, in case whoever dialed it passed out before they could talk. And of course, you've probably heard stories about cats and dogs accidentally dialing 911 by when they knock over a phone or something like that. Now, granted, Dr. Vogel that would not have been the optimal choice, because if there'd been a standard investigation, then Dr. Vogel's questionable practices would most likely have come to light. On the other hand, you have to think, which is better, having your career ruined and maybe looking at some jail time, or being murdered by a psychopath? And the fact that Dr. Vogel actually chose to call Dexter rather than 911, you really could take that as a sign as to just how dedicated she is to securing her position, I guess is a good way to put it. Then again, she did basically kind of pressure a known psychopath like Dexter into doing the dirty work for her. So yeah, any way, shape, or form that you look at it, Dr. Vogel is not someone to be underestimated. But still, look at where she ends up by the end of the episode, with Deb and Dexter on the boat. This strange, as even Dexter puts it, a family. Now there are no more secrets between Deb and Dexter. Deb has crossed the line in such a way that she's forever bound to Dexter, and she last episode made it perfectly clear she will always choose Dexter. And here we have Dr. Vogel, the secret keeper of all of this, and in some ways the architect of this whole bizarre little family. The opposite side of the coin to Harry. And now Deb is still probably reeling from the fact that her father committed suicide, but now Deb and Dexter have this strange mother figure in their life. And what does it all mean? Where does it all go from here? Well, this is Dexter, so happy endings are probably not in the cards. And, well, we've seen how families tend to go for the Morgans. So, I can't help but continue to think that this is all just going to horribly, horribly end in tears and blood and yeah. But still, just for this brief moment, these three damaged and dark people have found a connection, have found a family, have found on that boat, on the water, on that night, a moment of togetherness, of real belonging and understanding, with no secrets that we know of. How many families can say that? How many families can say that? How many families can say they've ever had even a moment like that? What a world, huh? What a world in which we live. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you this time. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.